new additions to the waiver wire. The practice squad is starting to be assembled, and the Browns over and under is 8.5. We're going to talk about it. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. Do not miss out on the action. Become an everyday or subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel so you have the content as soon as it drops. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. How is everybody? We didn't get much traction. I thought there would probably be a little bit more traction from the Browns. Waiver wire, first run of the waiver wire for the 2024 season has been completed. The Cleveland Browns did not pick up anyone. That does not mean that they did not necessarily put in on anyone. Browns did hold the 23rd slot in that. So that means, if any one of 22 NFL teams put in a claim, the same player they did, they would have gotten that player before the Cleveland Browns. So awarded nobody. However, any of the players the Cleveland Browns did release were not picked up either. So we will get to talking about the practice squad. It should sound fairly familiar to you. The tinkering of an NFL roster continues all the time, nonstop. We've certainly seen that, from Andrew Berry, over the years, a consistent effort into forever trying to make your roster the best possible version of itself that it can be. Some guys did not practice today. Jack Conklin, one of those guys. I think the Browns starting to just, in the term amp up, and we hear that one a lot. So Jack did practice yesterday, did not practice today. We'll see if he takes practice field on Thursday. One surprise was veteran cornerback, all-world Denzel Ward was on the practice field, not cleared from the protocol yet, but was able to return to practice. We've certainly seen this song and dance before. Players have to at least get a practice or two in. They go get more baseline testing done, and then they see if they can proceed up to full practice. So a good sign nonetheless for the Cleveland Browns, where at least Denzel is starting to trend in the right direction. Certainly been a long summer here for a lot of these guys with missed time, and everybody knows who listens to this and comes here every day. How many times did we say it was not about May, it was not about June, it was not about July, it was not about August, it's all about September 8th. So hopefully trending well in that direction. The Browns still have 4 quarterbacks on the roster. So bringing back a player like Dante Foreman has not happened yet. A bunch of quarterback maneuvering has gone on within the league as far as players going to practice squads. Whether or not the Browns can pull this off and trade a quarterback, most likely Tyler Huntley. I would say with each passing day, the odds get slimmer. So if you're going to have to end up eating it, maybe you're just going to end up eating it on Tyler Huntley, or maybe you release him, and if nobody takes him, you bring him back to the practice squad. Certainly, there was name talk about whether it was DTR on the block, or even within the last 24, 36 hours, Jameis Winston on the block. And Mary Kay did do a good job in speaking on it later. And I think a lot of these things is sometimes you guys got to listen to the podcasts from Mary Kay along with, because everybody, and look, we're all guilty of it. And some of us certainly worse than others, guys, of seeing something written in a tweet and manufacturing it into what we ever want it to be. The fact of the matter is the teams called the Cleveland Browns and asked about the availability of Jameis Winston. The Cleveland Browns aren't shopping Jameis Winston. They know the importance of solid backup quarterback play year one. Jacoby Brissett with Deshaun Watson. Last year, didn't work out so great, but you didn't anticipate you were going to lose Deshaun for the entire season. You pulled a rabbit out of a hat getting Joe Flacco. But the reason you were not going to move Jameis Winston is because you basically hit the lottery last year on finding a quarterback late in the season who was able to come in and contribute and be as significant as Joe was to close it out. Lightning ain't going to strike twice. So the Cleveland Browns know that they cannot get themselves in a position where they have to chase down a quarterback late in the season once again. DTR, he's on the development path you would expect for a former fifth-round pick. So I don't know where everybody's kind of, thought maybe that would be. But look, at the end of the day, everybody's available. So if somebody said to the Cleveland Browns, we'll give you a top 100 pick for DTR, maybe there is a good chance DTR would go. Who knows? We all know how GMs love their draft choices, love their draft picks, love their draft capital. So I'm not saying it could never happen, but no, look, I mean, you're trying to move Tyler Huntley in this scenario. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But that's something that's probably holding up, a couple other moves. Like I said, they're working on the practice squad, and we're going to get that here in a minute. But, you're starting to get closer and closer and shift all eyes forward to the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott and certainly CeeDee Lamb. And you look at that backfield with, Ezekiel. First off, could you ever imagine talking about a team that had Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook in the same backfield, which certainly could be something that potentially happens in the opener. Certainly neither player what they once were, without question. But you think the Dallas Cowboys defense, the Cleveland Browns defense and secondary and pass rush, it's going to be a big day. Certainly a big day against the Dallas Cowboys because the Cowboys are probably going to throw the living daylights out of the ball. They throw the living daylights out of the ball to begin with. If you remember the last time the Browns played the Cowboys, Dak had an incredible monster, as far as production and statistical output. Yes, we know the Browns won that game. It got close late, but the Browns were pretty much in charge most of that game. But the Dallas Cowboys are going to toss that pill all over First Energy Stadium. In a week and a half from now, the Browns certainly going to be up for the challenge. So it should make for a good one. Still waiting on, some final things here. Browns, maneuvering towards a practice squad. Still, certainly for me, I think there are some big holes still that you want to address on the 53-man roster. Maybe there's some things they know better than we do, but we continue to monitor it. We continue to bring you coverage every day because that is what we do. Appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. We're going to talk a little practice squad. And 8.5 wins is the over-under for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, I'm going to have some words on that. So don't anybody go anywhere. Summer's winding down. We're certainly getting into football season. Huge Major League Baseball games. If you want to go and see a sporting event, a concert, a play, check out Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff that you don't want and only shows you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets and certainly some lesser apps. You can get into the customize your spot. So it curates deals, make it easier to find the best price on great seats. It has the super deal. You get a seat view before you buy. All of these great things can come to you from Game Time. They got the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, even job loss protection. Game Time Picks curation makes it easy to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They have the all-in pricing, so you don't go from screen to screen. And then all of a sudden, you had an $85 ticket that now is $195. They are not lying to you. They give you everything straight up front. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. As always, we appreciate everybody who makes the show their first listen every single day. You need to become an everydayer, so make a new plan. Stand, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Do not miss a drop of action. Show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. As I said, Cleveland Browns are working in, whether it's official or not, at this point, the Cleveland Browns have 14 players on their practice squad currently. Like I said, some names here are certainly going to be familiar. Browns with only 9 defensive linemen on their 53. 5 defensive ends, 4 defensive tackles. Rookie defensive tackle Juwon Briggs was brought back to the practice squad. You would figure for right now, he would be first one off the bench. Cornerbacks, Mike Ford has been brought back. If you remember, Mike played well last year for the Browns, did play some cornerback for the Browns, signed a deal with the Houston Texans, did not make the Houston Texans. So he joins cornerbacks Tony Brown as well, and Justin Hardy. The 3 of those veteran with all a solid special teams presence are currently on the Cleveland Browns practice squad. Wide receiver Jalen Darden is on the practice squad. Wide receiver James Prochet is on the practice squad. Do one of these guys maybe get a bump for week 1 to possibly be a return man? Something to watch out for. Michael Woods. As much as Michael Woods was a big topic of conversation yesterday, Mike Woods did clear waivers and was brought back to the Cleveland Browns. So 3 wide receivers certainly on the practice squad. Offensive lineman Jermaine Ifedi, offensive tackle Ray Mapikwe. He technically does not count because he is your international player pathway program, so you get a free pass for him to come here and progress. Defensive tackle Sam Kamara, linebacker Winston Reed, long snapper Rex Sunahara, and tackle Lorenzo Thompson. Project, maybe can get something out of him, but certainly is part of the Browns practice squad as of now. The Browns did make one move to the practice squad that may be unfamiliar to many. Cameron Latu, tight end in 2023. He was the 101st overall selection, which means he went 3 picks after former Cleveland Browns defensive tackle Siaki Ika. Also means he went 10 picks before current Cleveland Browns right tackle DeJuan Jones. Latu, 6'4" and change, 240 and change. Athletically tested in the 6s, didn't wow you in any one specific area. His final 2 years in Tuscaloosa at Alabama, he did catch 12 touchdown passes, 8 in, I guess, what would have been his redshirt junior year, 4 in his redshirt senior year. His time when he was drafted by the San Francisco tore his meniscus in the summer, ended up taking away all his rookie year. So the Browns bring a guy in here, and you knew you were already done with Siaki Ika. And really, the story has not been told yet on Cameron Latu. Grew up in the state of Minnesota. Certainly just, you do, in my opinion, if the fact that the San Francisco 49ers and, the way they use George Kittle, I'm not saying that was their thought process when they drafted Cameron Latu, but if a team like the San Francisco 49ers drafted somebody at 101, didn't really get a look at him and had no choice but had to move on with him because numbers probably got tight, that's an appealing process for me if I'm the Browns. And knowing I have no young tight end, I have no developmental tight end on my roster, I only have 2 on my 53-man roster, this is something you can possibly play with. The word is there will be another tight end brought into the practice squad, probably more of the veteran nature. Who that name is, as of right now, I don't know, because there's some teams that are really heavy at the tight end position. I was thinking Tennessee Titans and their release of Nick Vannett, former Buckeye, probably 31, 32 years old about now, would be a name the Browns could bring back, but apparently Tennessee's going to get him back because it was just roster structuring, roster gymnastics, which puts Tennessee with like 5 tight ends on the roster. Some teams are crazy heavy with the tight ends they have on the roster. The Browns are such an anomaly right now with only 2. So, just going to see the way this all works out, and you'll follow this over the next few days as the Browns, try to, fill in some holes here. Again, from what I see to this point, maybe it's, they're okay with 2. I don't see it. Maybe it's more me not looking, in the lens that the Browns are looking in 3 tight ends for me is a must, but James Hudson can play a blocking tight end role. If Jed Wills is not able to go week 1, you can sit him and bring up one of these other tight ends that are on the practice squad, and maybe they go in and do some blocking tight end work. All things to monitor. It just seems to me that when you have a player who showed such dominance at the position last year and became such a vocal point of their offense in David Njoku, that if you'd want someone there for, God forbid, if David Njoku wasn't. Maybe the Browns are thinking, those routes can be run by Cedric Tillman or, something of that nature. Or, you can work the flats, you can work the short outs, all that stuff with the running backs. These are all thoughts that, maybe the Browns are having. And, we're not privy to a lot of the information we wish we were privy to. But certainly, could be, a change in the way the offense is viewing things this season, without a doubt. So you've assembled almost all of your practice squad. Now, keep in mind, there were players who were cut today to make room for players that were picked up on waivers. So certainly the Browns, could be adding bodies tomorrow. If there's not another defensive tackle brought in and it is Juwon Briggs, I'm okay with it. It's kind of the way we thought it was going to go. But, you still have those 4 quarterbacks kind of clogging up things right now. There's going to be room for certainly a running back on the 53. You could maybe move on certainly from a linebacker. You are 11 deep in the 11 deep in the secondary on the 53. And this has kind of been a prevailing thing here. I've talked with, I've done a lot of things here, network wise. We're starting to do our conference shows. That should be, by the time you guys get this, the conference AFC North preview episode should be up already. Kevin Ostreicher, Jake from Locked On Bengals, and of course, Chris Carter from Locked On Steelers. We all sat down yesterday, broke it down, and, you're going to hear some positive thoughts from Jake Liskow about the Cleveland Browns. You're going to hear some positive thoughts from Kevin Ostreicher about the Cleveland Browns. The perception, and I think for me, it was kind of the more fun things of sitting down with these guys last night, is that the perception of this franchise is absolutely changed. We all feel it. We do. We all feel that the perception of this franchise should be different. But when you start hearing Bengals fans say it, when you start hearing Steelers fans say it, when you start hearing Ravens fans talk about it, kind of gives you the sense that, okay, it is real. We may not be getting the due we deserve from the national media, except for maybe a little few. Jeremy Fowler, thank you, by the way, guys. We saw you certainly with your kind words on the Cleveland Browns. This team, look, it is deep. It is really, really deep. So maybe that makes the pressure even higher to go achieve a division title. But you guys know where I'm at. I've said it. I put my name on it, and I'm not backing down anytime soon. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Appreciate everybody for being around. Browns over and under at 8.5. I don't know about that. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate you all for making the show your first listen every single day. You need to become an everydayer. You need to subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. You need to make sure you are not missing any of the content when it drops. It is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, as you guys know, wagering, sports betting, that's not my thing. And we've talked about this in the past. I just, even if I think something is a sure thing, I feel that I am the mush. If I label it a sure thing, it becomes the most unsure of sure things. I give you my advice if I were to bet. We have great sponsors here, certainly, for all your sports betting needs. So I don't look deeply into it. So I'll be honest, I didn't truly know that, and I know FanDuel has it at 8.5. I had no idea the Cleveland Browns over-under is 8.5, which basically tells me that, you think that number tells me they're a 500 ball club. 500? They're a 500 team? And when I hear the justification from some people in the media, certainly national media most, of what their issues are with the Cleveland Browns. It is the same thing every time. I get it that people may have their concerns about Deshaun Watson. Okay, but could you at least put in a little bit of effort and maybe come up with another reason why you think this team is only capable of winning 8.5 games or less? Maybe the defense couldn't be as good as it was in 2023. I think that's how I go personally. Nobody talks about the fact that all three of their top offensive tackles are returning and spent most of their offseason rehabbing from offseason knee surgery. Not anything anybody talks about. Talk about the fact that, right now, their running backs consist of Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong. Nobody talks about that. And I think it was cousin Sal, from the Bill Simmons pod. And Deshaun Watson was 5-1 last year. Deshaun Watson is 8-4 in his career as a Cleveland Browns quarterback. He could be pressed into duty this year to have no choice. And Deshaun has always been a guy that held the ball a little longer than most. And look, for most part, it's not really affected him. Most of his success is there and plain to see. So it hasn't really affected the way he plays the game or how successful he can be. But with this year, with the amount of talent he has around him as far as the receivers are concerned, and I'm going to tell you right now, Amari Cooper, we know is capable. Jerry Jeudy, we are going to see the biggest season of Jerry Jeudy's career. Elijah Moore, 55 receptions last year. Now there's a third, fourth option as a wide receiver. Not too shabby. Cedric Tillman just put together an incredible summer. David Bell, as always. David Bell has that knack that probably nobody else on his team does. That he knows how to work the slot and he knows how to find the open spots. And even young Jamari Thresh. Jamari Thresh will find a way to contribute a little bit this year. It's going to be tough for him to get a lot of opportunity, but Jamari Thresh will. And we haven't spoken about David Njoku yet. We certainly haven't spoken about the receiving ability of the running backs out of the backfield. But the one thing, and where you think this could be extreme positive for Deshaun this season, is the fact that Deshaun knows he doesn't know. He knows that he does not know exactly what his offensive tackles are capable of just yet. Hasn't played behind him. None of them. So, have no idea where any of them truly are physically. They're back, 2 of them practicing. Jed, not yet. So we can't say they're 80. We can't say they're 85. We can't say they're 65. We can say they're 95. We don't know where any of the 3 are at. So for Deshaun, if there should ever be a time for him in his career where the emphasis should be, I got to get this ball. I got to get it out of my hands as fast as possible. And I don't care if it's the first option, second option, third option, fourth option, fifth option. His best friend's dog is open in the flat. Get it, find the open guy, and get it gone. That really should be the MO for Deshaun Watson, certainly early in the season as they are working in this new system, working in a guy who should be a primary piece to this passing game in Jerry Jeudy. So that should be the onus probably. And, and again, to be fair and, everybody, was Jameis over his shoulder, on his shoulder as far as getting at him. Jameis ain't got a release like Deshaun Watson. Jameis Winston is a long vertical throwing type of guy, similar to what Joe Flacco was. Deshaun should be able to get it out a lot quicker, and a lot more ping, 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 ping. That is something that should play well and should play into the hands of quarterback Deshaun Watson. So, all things to watch as this year goes on, all things to consider. But this 8.5, I can't, man. I just can't see the reasoning for this. It's crazy. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to share and make sure that nothing has dropped here that I have not seen. And look, again, for Huntley, maybe he gets cut. Maybe it's just going to be the way it works. And look, not everything is going to turn out. Look, the Josh Dobbs trade last year turned out. Maybe it's not going to turn out this year. But this 8.5. This defense is ridiculously good. This defense does not have a soft spot. This defense is in its second year under Jim Schwartz. It should be gelling. It should be better. It should travel better, certainly, than it did in 2023. The passing game should be what leads the way. And again, I don't need Deshaun to go out there and put up Patrick Mahomes numbers. I don't need him to go out there and put out Josh Allen numbers. The most important thing for Deshaun Watson, as far as having a successful 2024 for himself and for this team, is to have a low interception number and a high completion number. Sounds simple. I get it. It does. It sounds simple. But I don't need the 50 touchdowns. I don't need over 5,000 yards passing. I need north of 65% completion percentage. I would love an interception total probably of 12 or less through 17 games. That is what will lead this team to be just as successful on the offense side of the ball as they should be on the defensive side of the ball. Does not seem that difficult. So take your over-under of 8.5 and stick it. And I don't normally do it. I just told you I don't. But you want to throw down a couple of shekels. Take the over. Smash it. Because the Cleveland Browns are going to win more than 8.5 games. And the Cleveland Browns are going to win the AFC North in 2024. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. Been with you all for a long time here at Locked On Browns. Getting geeked up. No doubt about it. Season is coming. It's coming quickly. I could not be more excited. I appreciate you all for making Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. If you are not an everydayer, and the everydayers are a bunch of filthy animals, but they're my filthy animals that I want you to be like a filthy animal, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcast. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.